I'm Luke Summerhaze, and I love Shellos. Pokémon evolution is, as I'm sure I've mentioned before, more like a kind of metamorphosis than actual evolution. That being said, Darwinism, the process of evolution by natural selection, does definitely exist in the Pokémon world. Most of us remember the basics from elementary school. An animal is born with a mutation, that mutation is beneficial, it has more success and more babies, and so the mutation is carried forward. This is often simplified further to give us that classic illustration, with the chimp on the left, becoming an early hominid, and then a Neanderthal, and finally a modern human. But then you have the question. If people evolved from monkeys, why are there still monkeys? One reason for this is a process called allopatric speciation. One species of animal is split into two groups by some geographical feature, a mountain range, a body of water, or so on. Both groups then begin to develop independently, so when they finally meet again, they are two indistinguishable species. Darwin's own famous example involved the finches on the different islands of the Galapagos, each developing a distinct beak for eating from the local flowers. Shellos is a water-type sea slug Pokémon. Sea slugs are gastropods, related to the slugs we have on land, but they can look very different. They come in a wide variety of bright colours, and some have frills and fins that can look beautiful and alien. Shellos shows off this variety. The Pokémon is found all over the Sinnoh region, and in two visually distinct forms. West of Mount Coronet are the West Sea Shellos, pink and white with a slightly spiky back. East of the mountain are the East Sea Shellos, blue and yellow with frilly fins on their backs. Pokémon Diamond explains it. Its colour and shapes differ from region to region. In the Sinnoh region, two types are confirmed, although subsequent games have only shown us these two forms across many regions. Pokémon Pearl tells us, it lives along bodies of water. Its body shape has changed to suit its habitat. And Pokémon Moon says, the difference in colour from one Shellos to another seems to be a result of their diet. No large changes can be seen in their capabilities. Despite how gross a big slug might be if we saw it in the real world, Shellos is pretty cute, and Pokémon Legends Arceus leans into this, telling us, found in abundance on seashores bordering warm waters. Shellos are unexpectedly friendly, and will crawl towards any person they see. Take care not to get coated in mucus. Okay, maybe mucus isn't that cute. A lot of other Pokédex entries mention this mucus, and may lead you to believe that Shellos is a poison-type Pokémon. Pokémon Platinum says, beware of pushing strongly on its squishy body, as it makes a mysterious purple fluid ooze out. And Pokémon Moon says, purple mucus sticks to the hands of anyone who touches it. Take care, as the substance is troublesome to wash off. Real sea slugs do have some toxins on their bodies. This is actually the reason for their bright colours, which warn predators that they aren't worth biting. Shellos is not a poison-type Pokémon, and in fact, it can only learn poison-type moves through breeding with other species. They do have the ability Sticky Hold, which prevents item theft, and this is the real use for all that mucus. Welcome back to Does Andy Remember Gen 4 Pokémon?
And if so, does he have any thoughts about them?
Shellos!
That sounds like a shell.
Evolves into Gastrodon?
Shellos is the little slug.
Yeah!
It's not a shell. Yeah, it's pink and it's blue, depending on the gender.
Close, depending on which side of the continent.
Ah, close. No, never mind. Well, that is that bad for me for assuming that pink and blue is gender, or is that Pokemon for?
No, yeah, that's on you. You
yeah,
sexist.
That is probably on me, isn't it? But they could have chosen any colour. Why would they go for pink and blue if they're not going for that? Maybe that's what their original thoughts were.
No, I think it's a samurai thing. It's like a reddy pink on one side of the country and bluish on the other.
Okay, I will claim samurai ignorance on that case. Fair play. You've got me.
Also, I could be full of it on that one.
Wait, what's it got to do with samurais?
Well, because that's like the divide of east and west in the country, with generally like the red side and the blue side.
Oh, okay. So So Shellos hasn't actually got any samurai relatives or anything?
Well, I'll tell you what, the Gastrodon, it's got like a helmet on, hasn't it?
I don't know. I can't remember Gastrodon very well. Actually, I kind of do. Is it just like a really blown up... It's almost sort of Lapras shape, is it?
Oh, yeah, a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, with a helmet. Okay, fine. Yeah, no, I can picture that now. And I've helped the world imagine this Pokemon, which they already know, because otherwise why are they listening to a Pokemon podcast?
The name Shellos is a simple one, as slugs are essentially snails without shells. The shell is lost. The Japanese name, Karakanushi, also means lost shell, and sounds a little like the Japanese name for a sea slug. Unlike real slugs, Shellos has a chance of getting its shell back, when, at level 30, it evolves into Gastrodon. Gastrodon is a much larger creature, with a hard shelled back that extends up the neck and covers the head in a kind of Viking or samurai helmet. It keeps its two colour schemes from when it was Shellos, and the two different forms have very different helmet designs. It looks much more intimidating than Shellos, and can back it up. An additional new ground typing makes it a tricky Pokemon to deal with, now being immune to one of Water's biggest weaknesses, the electric type. As Pokemon Diamond tells us, it has a pliable body without any bones. If any part of its body is torn off, it grows right back. However, we aren't even seeing Gastrodon at its full power. A number of Pokédex entries talk about Gastrodon being different in the past, making it a little disappointing that we didn't see this form in Legends Arceus or the recent Scarlet. Pokemon Pearl says, apparently it had a huge shell for protection in ancient times. It lives in shallow tidal pools. And Pokemon Platinum tells us, long ago its entire back was shielded with a sturdy shell. There are traces of it left in its cells. And finally Ultra Sun tells us, long ago it had a shell on its back. There's now a vestigial plate on its back that's hard, but thin. While these prehistoric forms have never been seen in-game, they may actually be a little behind-the-scenes in-joke. We now know, from leaked images and an interview with Junichi Masuda, that Shellos was originally created for the 3rd generation games. And while only back sprites still remain, they do show a Gastrodon with a much more solid and rocky outer shell. Gastrodon's typing make it an interesting pick competitively, and on top of that, in the 5th generation it gains the move Storm Drain, which makes it also immune to water type, and it became an absolute monster. On the one hand, this dual water and ground type with two forms would have fit the duality theming of Ruby and Sapphire, perhaps even a little better than it fits into Sinnoh. On the other hand, Gastrodon already completely steals Swampert's thunder, so I'm glad Swampert had at least one generation to shine before being usurped. Friend of the show Mikey from Pokemon Crossroads got in touch with this to say, sandwiches. At least, that is what my girlfriend calls her Gastrodon, as she played Pokemon Sword for her return to the gaming side of Pokemon. Why? Because Shellos reminded her of a sandwich, and she loves sandwiches, so why not name it that? But do I love Shellos and Gastrodon? You bet I do. Gastrodon was another member of my team as I ran around Sinnoh back in 2007. In what I now have learned was an unusual pick over the typical Floatzel, especially because I'm a fan of pink Gastrodon, while others prefer the blue variant. Either way, I love this little slug. It was soft and strong, taking hits and dishing them out, with a unique look and a slowly becoming common type combination of water and ground. I can take him out when an electric attack is coming, and then use Mud Bomb to blow away the competition. Gastrodon was my surf friend. I used to imagine riding on Gastrodon's back as we crossed small ponds or any other body of water. Just me and him on the water. Was he fast? No, but why do we need speed as we surf on Sinnoh's waters? And as I got deeper into Pokemon's history, I learned of Gastrodon's interesting past. How it was once considered to debut in Hoenn, but was held back, only to gain a second pass to come out in Sinnoh. I love these little bits and insights into Pokemon's development cycle, so it makes me happy to hear that one of my favourite Pokemon has a cool story. Gastrodon and Shellos may have been rejected once, but I am glad that myself and fans have accepted it in the end. The name Gastrodon combines gastropod, the order of creatures which includes sea and land slugs, with don, a suffix commonly used in real creatures' names and especially in Pokemon's names. The Japanese name is Tritodon, the same suffix but with the god of the sea replacing the gastropod. Perhaps a more interesting name to discuss is Umiushi, the Japanese name for real-life sea slugs. It basically translates to sea cow, and may explain the horned helmet of Gastrodon, which resembles a bull's horns. This is yet another Pokemon whose whole design may just be a pun that only makes sense in Japanese. Sea slugs often live in coral reefs, which as we all know are sadly being destroyed by human pollution. And on top of this loss of habitat, sea slug species are being massively affected by changing ocean temperatures, as Pokemon Scarlet and Violet touch on. As Pokemon Scarlet says of West Sea Gastrodon, its whole body is sticky with mucus. In the past, this form of Gastrodon was by far the more numerous one. Meanwhile, Pokemon Violet says of East Sea Gastrodon, fishers say that they didn't see many of these Pokemon in the past, but this form of Gastrodon is now increasing in number. Music for Luke Loves Pokemon is composed by Jonathan Cromie. Artwork for the show is by Katie Groves. Writing, producing, and editing is all by me, Luke Summerhays, and funding is provided by lovely listeners at patreon.com/podcastiopodcastius. I love it when you guys get in touch. Hit me up on Twitter or Facebook at LukeLovesPKMN and let me know your thoughts about our next monsters, Drifloon and Baneri, or share your thoughts for any Pokemon. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet are with us, so on Sundays, we have bonus episodes about the Pokemon of the Paldea region. Also, join me on Friday and Saturday nights from 8 PM UK time at twitch.tv/LukeLovesPKMN for my streams. And even if you don't feel like doing any of that, thank you so much just for listening. I love Shellos, and remember, I love you too.